Okay, this is the build guide I'm doing just to help out Jojash on Reddit while my Armored Core for Dummies is being done or edited by the editor. So just to start, might as well start with these head parts. So the real only stat you care about for the head, besides obviously the energy and everything else, is actually the camera functionality stat. Because this just inherently improves the lock-on capability for your FCS and does a lot more than it really should. But it's really not even like that much. Like the head, I really only focus it for just looking at speed. The Sola's got an average amount. The Holo Furnace, if you really just want speed. Latona's good. For the most part, just from the stability and everything else, I use the Sola for almost anything. But the head doesn't really change too much. The core, again, I personally only really focus for the EN cost and speed. If your goal is just permanently flying, Latona for almost every part is good for the energy recovery. Also has decent PA rectification, so it blocks a good portion of damage, has great energy defense. So again, so for most lightweights, I use the Latona core. The White Glint core, to be honest, has really good stats. I know a lot of people shit on the White Glint parts for being a giant meme. The arms stop you from using shoulders, so I don't recommend those, but these overall for the core is good. Has pretty good stats. Really good defensive stats if you compare it to the other ones. The energy cost is also quite nice. So White Glint core is fine. The Ekhazer core is good for just fighting in the air. Tellus is good for massive energy defense. Hey there, Lizzie, how's it going? So again, core again is mostly really just where you want to fit the stats in. The arms do have a really decent amount of help here. The stats for the arms are really what you care about is maneuverability. This is really helpful for getting lock-ons for either parts that are slow to lock on, like long-range snipers, or just using parts close up. Because that just helps keep the actual lock-on when you're actually dodging around. The firing stability is to stop your arms from getting stunned and losing lock-on on either A, rapid-fire weapons, because it builds up fast with the recoil there, or for things like bazookas that have a large recoil. The aim precision is just, for some reason, the arms affect the deviation of the shot, which I guess kind of makes sense. So for most cases, for medium range, you don't care. Like for a machine gun or something that isn't necessarily accurate, the Sola arms are perfectly fine. 50 while low is not a bad stat. Again, the White Glint, 70. If you want to use some okay accurate assault rifles and you don't care about shoulders, White Glint arms are fine. But really, unless you're using an actual sniper where you need these like high 80, 86, it doesn't necessarily matter. The 063 AN are better than the other ones for energy weapons, because for long-range energy weapons like the railgun arms or long-range laser weapons, because it has the energy weapon skill, which augments the base damage of energy weapons only for the arm, not the cannon. Tellus has the highest energy weapon skill if you're going for energy weapon arms. For like a blade if you don't care about weight, but if your goal is speed, the lightweight Latona arms are also really good for energy weapon skill. And for heavyweight, the Hilbert's actually fairly accurate, great firing stability and high energy weapon skill for there. For the for the actual weapons for the arms, unlike the other games, they actually have some amount of defense on them, which they didn't in prior games. The bazooka arms, I wouldn't necessarily say that they're great, but they only take up the right spot, so you can use your left back at the same time. Raiden arms are honestly really good if you just want to pelt something with really strong grenades. The shotgun ones are okay. There's better regular shotguns. The machine gun arms are actually quite nice. The speed runs use them when you start at base. Like, really, the big thing that you're looking at for arm weapons, if you really want them, is that you don't need necessarily a right back weapon if your goal is just killing things quickly, because the left back can use at the same time. The Kojimas, they're just Kojima. If you get a good hit, you one-shot them after a charge. If you don't, eh. And the Aurora heat-seeking missiles are a pretty good meme. As for legs, which is where a large part of the thing is going to be at, the load is the big part for just carrying parts. And I personally like to be fairly lightweight, so this part matters. The turning ability, not so much, because quick turning exists. So quick turning, you can just turn on a dime fairly easily. Stability is to not get stunned when you're shot or landing if you do a long fall because you run out of boost. And then the other main thing about legs, because obviously quads and heavies have a lot better stability there. Reverse joints are typically pretty good on energy cost for like just the actual weight class. Like Latona is probably the best for energy cost at 4600. Reverse joints in some cases are even better, but they're just not fast for horizontal movement. But if your goal is being in the air, they're fine. Quads, amazing stability for not getting stunned by using cannons. The main thing is, though, that because this game has quick boost, you can quick boost out of the cannon stun. Kind of give or take there, but they're also really fast for a horizontal movement, so it's great if your goal is really being on the ground. But they have a very high energy cost typically, so if you don't set it up right, you're not going to fly. Tanks have built-in boosters. You just want to carry a ton of shit and blast at stuff. There's the Kiritumi, which is almost the really heavyweight one. It's got okay energy and ballistic defense. Raiden has more ballistic defense and is heavier at the cost of energy. Albirero is kind of more towards energy defense for tanks. And the Regal's like a lightweight Latona tank that, while it has its uses, if your goal's a lightweight tank, you're going to need a lot of overboost. Now, the other main thing for legs, besides all of that, is that middleweight legs have a horizontal blade swing, which is probably the easiest to hit with. Lightweight have a weird cross that stabs forward, does decent damage because it's a few hitboxes. The higher lightweight legs, while being lightweight, still have a horizontal swing. The heavy swing is like a weird, like, overhead, at that point, eh. Reverse joints have a weird uppercut, and then their dual swing's a hug that has some decent hitboxes. The dual swing for the heavyweights is also like a weird double overhand. The lightweight's a cross in front of you that's not that great, and the medium weight's a horizontal and a vertical. It's also not that great. But surprisingly, quads have a very, very good blade swing. One of them is just a single stab with some decent speed and hitboxes because they're great going forward. And their double stab for the dual swing does a lot of damage. The main thing is, though, you can't do a double swing or the dual swing within like a second or a second and a half of quick boosting. So you have to really line it up. Okay, so to Ironbuster, as for your question on which tank legs are best, it really depends on what you're doing, because the other thing to note is that they have built-in boosters, which these two have the exact same. So typically it's really just, also the energy recovery is very similar. So it's really just what you're going for. The Kiritumi has better primal armor overall, except I would say that the Raiden is tankier overall, so it depends on what other stats you're going for. Also, just to explain primal armor really quick, one stat is primal armor rectification, which is for how much damage it blocks while also increasing the size of the primal armor gauge for value. The actual physical size doesn't change, which this is also what's used during overboost or when you're hit. And primal armor durability is basically a reduction from the weapon stats. Just to quickly go out of order and just to show you weapons. Weapons have a primal armor attenuation, which is how much it actually chips off from your gauge, which is also partially blocked by the other one. And then primal armor penetration is how much of primal armor that it ignores. Kind of like a true damage reduction, and then this pierces the true damage. And okay, so the other part of it is how much damage it actually blocks. Or for like how much of the yeah, so it's kind of fighting back and forth there. But the main thing is that the PA rectification is how much you have, and the durability is how much damage it blocks. While the other stats are how much of the bar it takes away and how much it pierces through before the damage reduction. It is not a one-to-one scale. I don't have the exact math. Now for the FCS on this, the lock speed is typically lock speed of your parts. Like the in blue has a massive lock speed if you're just constantly quick boosting very close with shotguns or machine guns, or just if your lock on range isn't like if you're going to be pretty close or also using blades and not using missiles. This is a very good one. The radar refresh is also fast, so it constantly updates the enemy for your actual radar. One thing of note is the parallel processing is not nearly as important as it was for the other games. It's just when you're using two weapons at the same time, it kind of reduces your ability to lock on a bit. So like if you're really like, for the most part, none of them it's really low. So Ekhazer's great if that's your goal there. Like decent range. But for the most part, the only other thing is target locks, which no one even uses. If you're using missiles, you can hold the fire button down to get multiple locks and split the missiles. It's a good concept, but doesn't really help in this game. So what you're really going to need to know is if you're only using blades, the blue XS is the best for blades. If you're really, really close and you're not going far away and not using missiles, the in blue is the best one. If you're kind of using decent, like medium range missiles and regular weapons, the FS Lahire is a good one. The Judith is a bit better if you're going for more missiles over the other weapons. And then the rest are typically basically the same. If your goal is like really long distance, there's these long distance sniping FCSs. The lock speed at long range doesn't necessarily matter because they're very small on your screen, so it's easy to catch up to, and it also helps missiles lock on faster. But these, once you play around, you'll really figure out the few that you personally like the actual feel of. So the generator is actually a tricky thing. There is the energy output for how fast the energy comes back, capacity for how much you have, and Kojima particle output for how fast the PA comes back. In most cases, I would either say if you're just going lightweight, Sobrero, if you're set up right, mostly for like lightweight blading, this will cover everything you need. The blade helps carry you in the air. The Alaya, if you can fit the weight, is great in literally every single one of these stats. The Sobrero only barely beats it for output, which again, the only reason you go this one is because you're going for speed for blading. Everything else is lower. And then everything else, really, if you have the output, the capacity doesn't really matter. Because that's a massive difference when you're really looking at it. Like, if you're purposely going for something with primal armor overboosting the Maxwell, a lot heavier, kind of okay. But really, the Alaya is all you're really going to need for the most part. The Alaya for guns or anything else, or the Sobrero if you're going blades. This is also for regulation 1.4, which is the current patch. Older ones may slightly vary on which parts you want for these. Also, something I forgot, the Ekhazer arms, which are meant for like the vertical fighting quads, the arms actually go up and down easier for tracking and actually hold the gun sideways just to also show that. But if your goal is like using a reverse joint or constantly changing altitude to circle stuff, these are the best arms you're going to want to go with. Like, they've got okay energy weapon skill. The stats are fairly average but quite nice, but like for anything with dashing around them up and down using rifles, machine guns, or anything, this does quite well. As for the actual boosters, you have several choices here. In a fairly in the middle booster is the CB Hogire. The from start speedrun uses this basically the whole time. The vertical thrust for getting up is quite nice. The quick boost is strong in case you have to go forward. Vertical cost is nice, decent speed going forward. If you just want straight forward speed, the Alaya has you covered there at the cost of like really being in the air. The Ekhazer's okay for aerial speed. The Duskaror is decent for ground speed. The thing for the Alaya is that it's cheaper, but its ability to go in the air is awful. If you are going blades, or focusing on blades, the Virtue hidden part, the quick boost duration is the farthest by far, increases lunge range and speed, but its energy is awful. And then if your goal is just flying and never coming down, speed doesn't necessarily matter. Judith is just the king for all of that. The vertical thrust is way over the other ones at a very low cost. Quick boost is okay with decent speed. It's just not very good for vertical speed. The back booster, I would just say for the most part, Latona energy is cheap. The weight and energy cost are cheap. You can actually gain energy flying backwards in the air when paired with the Judith and other things based on your energy recovery. The only reason you'll need anything else is if you're like really focusing on backpedaling with a sniper. As for the sideways, Judith, decent, is pretty good for cost. The other things kind of follow. If you're really going for dodging, the Holofernes shoves you a great distance. Really good for heavier mechs that just aren't fast. The Judith, again, has decent everything else. Tona is more about like low cost, but the quick boost distance is also quite good. Laia, if you just want the instantaneous speed. For overboosting, the very first one here has the lowest KP cost for the entire thing. So if your goal is just long-term overboosting, this one's the best. Notice that the KP in initial cost is also the highest, so it's meant for long-term. The activation limit is like just a quick acceleration at just the very, very start. It's really, there is a blade trick with using that and quick boost and blading at the exact same time to get like a very long lunge range off of it. Again, the overboosting is kind of where you want to really go with it based on your parts for how much Ojima particle you have. If your goal is just assault armor, grab one with assault on it. The Regal has the highest range, while the the Regal and also the Argyros, but the Argyros is very heavy. And then the Sobrero has the most damage. They're all fairly close together. And then for the overall weapon portion of it, it's really what you want to do with the just different fire rates. If you're using rifles, I personally like the body rifle because the firing range is decent, speed's decent, the fire rate's good. You have just a whole lot of ammo. The damage is good. And, okay, so there are two ways to really use it. You can use different fire rate rifles just to make dodging it harder, especially when the NPC's trying to dodge it, or just alternate the actual firing time. Assault rifles are also good if your goal is just being close up and firing faster. The sniper. I mean, there's like really no bad parts. You just want your actual A-sleeve plus your actual lock on and everything to line up well for the FCS. One thing I will say is don't use the Vonda machine gun. The fire rate is too fast with its actual recoil. It doesn't seem like it would be, but it just immediately stuns your arms if you try to fire it for more than 1 to 2 seconds. And using 2 of them, it just doesn't work. I would recommend the Hitman if you're... the Moto Cobra is actually really the best in almost every stat. Like, attack power is higher, PA attenuation, PA penetration, impact force, ballistics velocity, firing range. It's a bit less accurate, but everything else, the fire rate's the same, there's more ammo, the cost is the same, and the mag size is bigger. Actually, no, sorry, mag size is the same, sorry. Yeah, point is, the Moto Cobra is just the best one there. The Gatling guns are good if you don't want some actual reload time and just want to hammer at them. For the shotguns, I prefer the Samba Guida because it has a very nice stun on it. Like, the actual impact force is just great, does great damage, shreds PA, has a very nice stun, well paired with a machine gun or a close range rifle or assault rifle. Machine gun rifle is also good. Like, there's no, besides the Vonda machine gun, I wouldn't really say anything is bad for the arm weapons. Obviously, some of them are meant to be in an actual hanger. For just the laser blade portion, the Eltanin has great damage, is thick, and costs very little energy to actually use it for, what you're actually getting for it. This is a fairly longer blade, but lower damage. This is a long-range blade if you just want the extra range on it. This is a decent hanger blade. This one is known as the snap blade. It's not on for the entire swing, but for the same thing, I'm not really necessarily a use for it. For PvP, it stops him from seeing the blade for a bit, but not really much point. The Dragon Slayer can be activated fairly often, is small, but has great damage for its size and cost. The weight is low. Actually, no, it's high, but yeah, so this is does a lot of damage if you're doing a quad or lightweight stab, and the Moonlight is just the Moonlight. It does a lot of damage. I would really recommend either the Eltanin blade for low energy cost or the actual Moonlight for damage if you can afford the energy costs. As for the actual back units, this is a chain fire 16 shot missile, can be split between multiple targets or just a good long-term fire range as you're boosting around. Once the missiles lock on, you don't have to keep lock on. Once you actually fire it, they'll keep going at them. This fires a cloud at once. These are vertical launch, the 16 shots, they're fine. The spread missiles all have their own separate use. The VTF explode once they're close. The large missile is the large missile. This is just a large Kojima missile. Vertical launch one. Scatters are fine. These ones purposely go to the sides instead of forward to help flank. These go up. These are heat seeking. You don't even have to actually lock on. Rockets are very good for dealing damage. If you can get good with them, I would say they're the strongest weapon in the game, but they can get shot right in your face and kill you. The triple shots are what I would recommend. The sniper cannons are really how much ammo do you want versus how much damage. The chain guns are both fine for shredding PA. Gatling cannon's fine for also adding an extra stun. The slug gun, if you can use it, is really good at close range, especially if you've peeled all of their primal armor off. Grenade cannons are good. The Saplas are a lightweight rapid fire one. You can have two and just alternate them really quick to get them all out while stunning people. This, I forgot. I did say there were no other bad weapons besides the Vonda. I am sorry. This, for the weight, the time it takes to come out, there is just no purpose to have this. Literally, you can have 2 grenade launchers that will be better and have more ammo than this piece of crap. The only benefit is if you for some reason have, if you've got arm weapons, like the Raiden arm weapons, and then these will take up your back, and then your left back is always out for long-term combat if you have a really high-capacity missile launcher. I just don't think it's worth it. The rail cannon's a long range, basically a sniper cannon, but also ballistic. Yet it costs energy, so it's like an energy weapon that deals physical damage. Fairly accurate, nice stun, good PA penetration if you're fighting like a tank or something that can't dodge. Laser cannons are regular laser cannons. The high laser cannons, just a higher cost, higher damage, slower fire rate laser cannon. The 8 Crooks is the one I personally use because it fires 2 shots at the same time. Really good for the actual penetration portion. Energy cost is okay, shot precision's good, speed's okay. Really good for keeping lock on, decent fire rate. Also the passive weight's quite nice. The pulse cannon, okay if you want a rapid fire energy weapon on your back. Which, there are some uses for it if you're using like the energy tank or some other energy focus. A plasma cannon is a decent damage laser weapon, except it typically has a higher shot cost, usually, depending on like over the actual regular laser cannons. Except it also messes the target's radar up. Doesn't really affect AI, but it's good for PvP. Kojima cannon's a Kojima cannon. The assault cannon, if you use assault armor with this on, changes it to firing a giant laser. Radars in this game basically have 0 use. If you don't know the maps, it's good for finding targets. Once you know them, they're pretty much useless. Besides 2 missions at PAN 51 or whatever the foggy town is that has ECM issue, and then you just use ECM augmentation, or just use a longer range lockbox because it shrinks it by an actual %, and then it works like just any other lock-on area. And then shoulders just depend on what you want to do there for comboing. There's relation missiles and these other standard stuff. So just to show like a typical lightweight build if you want. And Latona's firing rate, fine for most weapons. Go Latona again. Soul up. See, we want to also use missiles in this build. Judas is fine. Alaya. I'm going to go with Hogire because the energy is fine. Tony here. Judas is fine. It's fine. Let's go Labadia rifles. I'll just alternate the actual fire rate. For back missiles, going to go with a small... We're going to go with... let's go with a VTF missile. So it blows up close. I went past the VTF missiles. The 3-shot. Go with the big vertical launch and a belt creek here. So just please note actually no, gonna go with the muscle shell because it's a cloud. The Musking Gumo fires a chain of 64 at once. Great if your goal is just long range missile pelting, but bullets can shoot them out of the air and blow them up in your face. Now, as for tuning 90% of these stats, you put 50 points in to get a 10% increase in stat. So basically, I'm just using this to get the load over where I need it. Oh, I say always energy output and energy capacity because those are good. This is going to help keep lock on for the arms. Don't really need those. Lock speed, just to help the lock speed there. The missiles are fine. While I say turning speed isn't necessarily needed, it's helpful for when you don't need to quick boost because quick boosting is too far. Increased vertical thrust. Side quick boosting for dodging. Gonna go also the horizontal for chasing, and then just the quick boost to get a bit stronger here. So for this, I would say 90% of people just ignore the stabilizers. What these do is that for the actual weight based on your parts and everything else, you get slower towards where it's aiming for. Okay, so this is basically the center and 2 down. Okay, so this is a bit to the right because it's weighted left and then a bit back. Actually, no, this dot's not in the right place. This is a bit left and a bit down. Not sure why it's showing on the right there. So it's basically, okay, so you go slower in the direction of the weight and faster for the opposite. So for there, I'm getting like a 13-point speed going forward better. and then I can move left a bit better. Just to jump into an arena fight with this, or to match Dario. Map doesn't matter. See, notice because of how it's currently set up, I gain energy as I fly. When you quick boost sideways or forward to dodge, you can actually let go of the boost button. The quick boost will keep you up, except your energy will actually come back faster. They're just long range or decent range here. I have different missiles. The VTF will blow up when they're close, hopefully blowing up any that are close but are currently missing. Even just this combo here, because there are different missiles, you can't dodge them the same way and shit just dies. Doesn't really matter which combo of missiles you necessarily have. The VTFs will blow up ones that are close but are currently missing. They're good for killing stuff. As for the actual rifles here, I'll show you can just keep close. Make sure you alternate the actual fire so it's harder to dodge, so they don't just dodge both of them by both rounds by dodging once. Just stay close. Quick turn towards them. Probably should have used the Ekhazer arms, because I'm definitely going to be staying higher in the air. And the rifles just basically chip at them. They're good for fighting MTs, normals, things that are fast, like Sombrero or something else. And you just chip at them. The primal armor is now pierced through. Well, it came up because I had to actually reload, but you just stay close, you chip them down. And now let's say and there's many ways to actually build them. Let's show a last use case for arm weapons. The Raiden arm weapons are quite good. We'll throw on tank legs. Kiritomi should be fine for this point. I'll leave these on because it's still fairly tanky. You get energy out of it. So, because the arm weapons take up the right slot, my back left is still open. I want to get a high-powered sniper rifle with this. Or, sorry, a sniper cannon. Or just for an actual mission, the 36 one is fine. Back right, just to have it for the farther range before I'm close. That's the shoulder. I can use a rail cannon. There's a little bit of extra speed in there because the ballistic velocity of the rail cannon is high. You can put flares or just really nothing at all if you don't want it. Lock distance to this, I'll go with the Omnia. As Omnia is basically the range I want while lock speed is still nice. The maneuverability is fine for those Raiden arms. Game precision is also fine. Lock speed's good. Don't care about the speed on a tank. So it's only a main booster, so basically the side booster and everything is still there. Sorry, main and back booster. So these, I mean, I might as well upgrade the aim precision on these. Upgrade my primal armor to take a bit more of an actual beating. Okay, we have May Greenfield and Marygate. So basically for this, while I'm like just farther back, use the sniper cannon and the railgun to whittle them down, and when I get close, just bomb them with the grenades. Because the sniper cannon, when it hits stuns, I will shoot that first, and then the arms when they can't move. Just most of this game is all about just... See, so shoot, bam. It's just all about having decent weapon combos. Shoot, bam. Sniper cannon, boom. You'll notice she gets stopped from the very fast bullet. Can't dodge. I missed that one, but because she was on the ground, the actual grenades don't have to hit. They just have to get close. Yeah, actually, no, that guy's gonna stay on the ground and try and punch me. Let's try someone else. You know what? Just for, again, use case, where is Cube? He should spend most of the time... Here you go, Fragile. Yeah, he'll spend most of his time in the air. It's just all about having the actual movement the way you want movement to work. And having a weapon combo to make weapons work. Notice that the dot is currently moving because he's dodging very fast and the lock-on's not the best lock-on. Again, just get a single hit with that cannon, arms straight in his face, he can't move. And there's one more thing, just because, let's say someone wants to use quads. Going to be using the Latona arms, because, again, I like having the energy regeneration. Legs. Let's go with a lightweight quad. Go with in blue FCS. Because I'm going full on, because I'm going to add a blade, the virtues going on. The toner for the back, it got reset because I had the tank legs on. I have slug gun here. And then just to actually have it. Gonna have, actually no, that's not gonna work. You know what? Second slug gun's fine. Actually no, I'm gonna have a Gatling can. Do it the chain gun. Why not? And 2 L-Tannin blades. Wait, no, right. That is what I was gonna do. I was gonna use a single L-Tannin blade. This was gonna be a shotgun. This is gonna be a machine gun, and then that slug gun. Hey, Captain Dirk, how's it going? In the middle of just a quick Armored Core building a tutorial on this game. And then this one's going to be the slug gun. If I can find where the slug gun was. Gonna do a release again. Energy output, energy capacity, energy weapon skill. I'm using a close range machine gun. This doesn't matter. Lock speed all the way up. Horizontal here. Horizontal here. Side quick boost. Vertical doesn't matter. I'm not flying. Stability, turning ability so I don't have to quick turn. And then leg stability for that slug gun. Oh, let's not do May Greenfield again. That was just random chance. Well, let's go Jean. Basically, the entire point for a machine gun for my right arm is just peeling primal armor for when I want to use either the blade or the slug gun. Notice, because I'm on the ground, the energy comes back perfectly fine. Now my goal is just surrounding them with this. The slug gun also stuns. You can just quickly joust them. PA is gone, so the slug gun just tears them apart. I also played that terribly. I don't play with this kind of setup much. Just to go to someone else who can obviously dodge better. Also, I'm not saying that the quad can't fly, because if I really need to, this quad can definitely fly in the air. It can fly a decent amount. It's just really how you have your energy recovery set up. And then just to show also the use case for having a blade, either arms forts, something large, a land crab, a tank, or with this setup, really anything I want to hit with this blade. Just quickly running her out of... So, they will always attempt to dodge a blade, so you can run them out of energy also fairly quickly. But let's say I wasn't fighting someone fast who could dodge. Let's say, you know what? John! Definitely can't dodge very well. I don't even believe I'm going to have to actually, like, circle him or attempt to dodge. I believe I can just kill him with his blade. So basically, the very good quick boost on the front of this, because of the virtue, gives you a longer lunge range. Yeah, so that's really it for the guide. I explained the different parts, showed some ways to use them. I guess technically I showed mostly the same body parts. But for the most part, you can do whatever you feel like doing. Thus, I'm going to end the recording here, and then ask anyone in chat if they want me to check anything for a different game, go over something else, or whatever.